reason this. Okay, there we go. Okay, good. All right. Good morning, everyone. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
All right, good. So this morning's presentation, I call this the Tale of Twin Brothers. And just a little disclaimer, again, this is for informational purposes only. No attorney-client relationship will result as part of this presentation. All right, so I'm going to introduce you to two brothers, Ray and Roy. Ray and Roy were born in 1971. They're identical twins. Both parents served in the military, which means that they moved around quite a bit. Ray and Roy were born in Guam, lived in Okinawa, and then spent quite a bit of time in San Diego at the naval base. Well, their parents served in the naval base. They left off base, went to middle school and high school in the San Diego area. Interesting thing is you really couldn't distinguish between the twins. They were very identical, but their personalities were quite different. Ray was a physically gifted athlete. He was charming, gregarious, flashy, liked to prank others, had a bit of air of arrogance, smart, cunning. He was a bit of a playboy, very self-centered, very competitive, and will cheat if necessary, and all too willing to let others do the hard work. Roy, on the other hand, he also was a physically gifted athlete, quiet. He was reserved and respectful, hardworking. He was street smart, not necessarily book smart, but he was very smart guy and very resourceful. He was patient, persistent, honest, and trustworthy. Now, as I mentioned, Ray liked to do pranks and cheat from time to time, and he always gave him a kind of a demented thrill to get one up on his brother. When they were kids, for example, Ray would throw a rock through his neighbor's window and carefully made tire tracks with Roy's bike, and so forth. And because of that, it implicated Roy as the culprit. And of course, Roy got in trouble for it. During school one time, there was a science project in 5th or 6th grade. Ray took, and Roy had a gopher snake exhibit at recess when no one was in the classroom. Ray took Roy's gopher snake out of Roy's glass aquarium and put the snake in the teacher's purse. And yes, Roy got in trouble for that. And Ray not only got away with this, but he had this way of turning it around, making it look like, Roy, I mean, you're bringing shame on the family. How could you do this? When he got a little older, Ray deliberately turned off Roy's alarm clock so that Roy would sleep in, and that allowed Ray to win the Perfect Attendance Award in the elementary school contest for that. As he got older, it got a little more interesting. In 8th grade, Roy had a little bit of a crush on his girl, Marcia. And he finally got enough confidence to sit down at the cafeteria table, and he was going to ask Marcia to the school dance. However, Ray had other ideas. He stealthily substituted a raw egg in Roy's jacket, and when Roy was seated, the egg broke. And the reason why he got away with this, because Roy had a habit of eating hard-boiled eggs. Ray substituted the hard-boiled for a raw egg, and of course made a mess. Roy was too embarrassed to ask Marcia, so Ray put on the pretense of coming to Roy's rescue and asked Marcia to the school dance, and of course she said yes, and Roy was a bit crushed about that, but Ray got away with another one. When they were older, as teenagers, they both learned to drive. And one particular evening, they were driving back from an athletic event, and they were on a 3-lane highway, and they were at a stoplight. So Ray and his other friend each drove their car besides Roy in a 3-lane road, as I was saying, that intersection. And they synchronized their cars so they would put it in reverse. And by doing this, it went very slow. Roy had the perception that he was going forward. And he panicked, and he pressed on the brakes really hard, And then without him knowing it, he actually pressed the accelerator, went through a red light, and guess what? He got a ticket. Next thing, Roy developed a very good knack for imitating Roy's voice and mannerisms. So Roy was set to take Rhonda, girlfriend, to the prom, but unknown to Roy, Ray disabled Roy's car. And as a result, he wasn't able to pick up Rhonda to take her to the prom. Now, Roy didn't know that Ray disabled the car deliberately, but Ray came in and said, hey, I'm going to bail you out. I'll pick up Rhonda, take her to the prom, and then you can meet her there. However, Ray had other ideas. Ray, pretending to be Roy, proceeded to picked up Rhonda, pretending to be Roy. And on the way to the prom, he remarked that her prom dress looked like a recycled linen tablecloth. And of course, it went down from there. They went to the prom, and of course, Rhonda was so furious, she didn't want anything to do with whom she thought was Roy, but actually it was Ray. But Roy did fix his car, showed up to the prom late, and Rhonda pours a drink on Roy's head. She leaves. And then Ray comes over to Roy and says, dude, not cool that you were so late. And of course, Roy thought that Rhonda was mad because Roy was very late and leaving her high and dry. So it went on like that. But notwithstanding these pranks and one-upships on Roy, Roy was very fond of Ray. It turned out they enlisted in the Army. They earned medals for valor and were promoted. Ray, of course, took credit for a number of successes at Roy's expense. But Roy did save Ray from an IED explosion. Ray sustained some shrapnel injuries and a partial loss of hearing. Ray sustained no injuries, but they were both highly decorated and honorably discharged. As they grew up, and after leaving and being honorably discharged in the Army, Ray was trained and became a bank officer. And one of the perks of his job was that he was able to live rent-free in a luxury apartment in San Francisco. Ray lived with a significant other, Raina, who was attracted to the high life and divorced her husband to be with Ray. Roy, on the other hand, was a general contractor. He lived on a modest ranch south of Pleasanton. He married the love of his life, Vicky, who was an ER nurse from Nigeria. About 2010, Ray and Roy's father dies, and he leaves a will. And he states that in his will that he has property in the foothills south and west of Atascadero, California. Now, we've heard of a will contest. That usually means that you're contesting the contents of the will, but this is a different kind of contest. The father actually created a contest between the two. And basically it stated that each would receive a key, which will open the front door to the house on the property. And the tenant will confirm who reaches the house first. So if you're the first one who reaches the house, you get the property. Now, no address or parcel number was given, just a physical and legal description. Ray didn't know really much about reading maps or parcel descriptions and so forth, but Roy did. Roy, knowing this, said, I'm going to win at all costs. So once again, he pretended to be Roy, and he goes to the bank, signs off the paperwork, and gets not only his own key, but he gets Roy's key. Roy goes to the bank and discovers Ray's malfeasance. And of course, Roy is very, very upset. Roy was able to identify the location, of course, because he had some familiarity with the property descriptions, and he was very good at locating property. So on the other hand, Ray hired professional help to locate the property. And all this going down, Ray reaches the property first. Roy reaches the property and has an intense discussion with his brother, Ray. And Ray admits to cheating because he just felt the drive to win at all costs, and he apologized. And they noticed that Raina, who is Ray's significant other, is crying. Ray explains that the home is dilapidated, the land is wild, and when they got there, they met a couple rattlesnakes. And so Raina is not too fond of this property. And they just, the thing about why she's really crying is that they gave up their free lease to the high rise, and they didn't really have anything to go back to. Ray explains that they give up their high-rise apartment to live on this property. Roy offers, and because he has this place in his heart for Ray, he offers to give his place in Pleasanton to Ray as a trade. Now, Ray can't believe Roy's generosity considering Ray's malfeasance, but that's the type of character that Roy is. Roy and Ray reconcile. However, Roy's wife, Vicky, is very furious. She believes that once again, that Ray has taken undue advantage of Roy's good nature. And when they consult with the attorney, Vicky, being Roy's wife, needed to sign off on certain legal documents in order for the completion of the transaction to take place. When Vicky is reluctant to sign, she asks Roy, "Why do you allow Ray to walk over you like that?" And Roy explains to Vicky, you know, the Pleasant property is nice, but it's not the thing that's valuable to me. He says the best home is where the heart resides, and Vicky is Roy's heart. And moreover, Roy is very, should we say, very industrious with his hands, and he had plans for this for his father's property. After some few moments of interaction, Vicky agrees to the transaction and signs off on the documents. Now, it appears that Ray got the best of Roy once again. However, Ray and Raina were enjoying their new home, and it seemed that things were going great for them. And in fact, the property was given to Ray and the title was in Ray's name alone. However, Ray did not do any estate planning, notwithstanding his personal wealth. He had quite a bit of wealth being a banker, plus he had a nice piece of property in South Alameda County, and it was worth quite a bit. However, Ray discovered that Raina was cheating on him. He was so infuriated and upset at this discovery, he had a massive heart attack and he died. Moreover, Ray died intestate, that means without a will, and so the laws of intestate took place. Since Ray was not married, had no children, no surviving parents, Roy inherits the Pleasant property he formerly owned. Raina discovered that there is no common law marriage in California and there's no inheritance rights. So Raina doesn't get anything. Ray gets the property that he formerly had, plus his father's property. That's the end of the story. There's a lot that can be drawn from this. It may be hard for me to say this, but I think in this particular case, I'm kind of glad that Ray didn't have a will because justice was served. However, this is the exception, not the rule. This is a good case to point out a lot of things, but one is make sure that your affairs in order, and also shows in this particular case the value of being married as being not married. So that is your story, your little tip for today, and thank you very much.
Nice story, Leo. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Oh.